late, and I'm going to record this session anyways. It's recording as we speak, so you guys can afterwards, and like I said, circle back to me with any questions you might have. So again, my sincerest apologies from now on. I know I wanted to use Canvas Inbox for everything, but it's obviously the links to the WebEx are not functional in Canvas Inbox. So we're going to be using email for the messages each week with the links, so you guys have access to them, and something like this won't happen again. So without further, thank you so much for your patience tonight again, and I want to welcome all of you to the class. I'm Barry. Some of you may have read my bio in Canvas, but if I haven't gone to it, I just want to say that I've been a Barry employee for a long time. I love Barry. I think that it's a great place to be if you're just starting at Barry, or whether you've been here for a long time or you're a brand new student. I think it's the perfect place for you to feel welcome, supported, and be successful especially as a graduate student. It's such a different feel. I've been, to a state university. I've read through most of your introductions today, which was lovely. I loved every single minute of it. I really connected with you guys in a lot of different ways. I myself saw, I was in your place, just a few years ago, maybe not a few, maybe 10 years ago, working at Barry as an academic advisor and an administrator, and just wanting to pursue a career, working with students, mentoring them, working with adult learners, motivating them, and helping them get to where they need to be. So I've been teaching for education, for School of Education, for about a year and a half. I'm a graduate from the Dr. McCrank's program, Higher Education Administration, yay, a long time ago, way before online courses were even a thing. So I've been where you're at, and for any of you, I've done a couple of you in your introductions that you're coming back to, to college, or your grad school, and you haven't been here for a while. So please, I've worked with adult learners at Barry's Professional and Career Education Department for many, many years. Students from many walks of life coming back to study, either to advance in their careers, or because their kids are in college now and they just didn't know what to do with themselves. So, I just open myself up to anything you guys need, any questions you may have, even if it's just regarding, academics, or, outside my course, advising, anything you guys need, I'll be more than happy to help you in. So I just wanted to start with my teaching style, and in my announcement earlier this week, I talked about kind of how the course that I wanted the course to be, and a little bit about why I envision. And I just want to say to you up front, I'm a very flexible professor. I've worked with adult learners for a long time, and I understand that we all have crazy schedules, etc. Like tonight, we had technical difficulties, so just communicate with me. Let me know what's going on. I'm willing to work with you. My goal is to have you succeed and get as much from my course as you can, in whatever method you best for yourself. And I'm willing to work with you. So assignments are modeled in the course from a traditional perspective. We're going to go over them a little bit later on. And I'm a lover of technology. I work with technology every day. I'm not only a professor, but I also work with developing online courses for FIU. So the assignments are set, not set, but kind of modeled by the School of Education at Barry wants them to be. But if you feel like you want to incorporate, digital media, technology into your work, you want to enhance the meaning of your deliverables, and illustrate, more information, or do it in a different way, please feel free to communicate with me. I want to hold a completely inclusive environment. This is an adult learning course. You are all adult learners, so I'm very aware of the different learning styles. And I don't mean the learning styles in the traditional sense that we're going to look at probably next week in our course materials, but in the very sense that some of you feel more comfortable, doing a video, or some of you feel more comfortable writing a paper, or of transmitting the knowledge you have other than, a scholarly, APA style paper. So I'm open. I taught writing for many years at Barry at the undergraduate level. So I'm a writing instructor by trade. So any writing issues, APA issues, no worries. I'm here to support you and help you get through those, I guess, those minor hurdles in the grand scheme of things, I would say. This course, we're going to examine, pretty much the history of andragogy, or adult learning theory, as a formal educational practice, from its inception during the ancient times, from the Bible, the Greeks, the Romans, the Catholic Church, all the way to the civil rights era, and how the evolution of adult learning theory has changed to meet the needs of the society at the time. And trying to figure out the best way to explain and practice effective teaching and learning has been a very important part of several fields, such as psychology, philosophy, training, education, and definitely e-learning. So we're going to spend some time actually on e-learning, since it's obviously we're all enrolled in either I'm teaching an online course or you guys are taking an online course. So we're all in it, for the good, the bad, and the ugly type of thing. In the course, we're going to examine there's a lot of different names in the book. That's why when I sent out the announcement, I wanted to just kind of put you at ease. The book should be a guide. We're by no means going to be able to learn in depth every single person that contributed to the field. This is an 8-week course, and we're going to do the best we can. So we're going to look at some of the key figures like Malcolm Knowles, Kurt Lewin, some of these names that you hear about on a daily basis if you're in education, or if you're into adult learning and psychology, and how psychology, specifically the role that psychology has had in teaching and learning process, as well as the future of adult learning. So we're going to get into some of the more technological. I know some of you have a background in technology, which I think is fantastic. Hopefully you'll be able to contribute to that piece when we get later on in the term, when we look at what's next for training and development. And so let's look at some of our learning objectives. So hopefully by the time we're done, you're going to be able to establish a criteria for determining appropriate motivational techniques for your own workplace, for your own educational settings, and be able to really meet the needs of adult learners. I'm gearing towards, obviously it's an HRD course, so we're looking at it from a human resources their professional skills or technical skills in that field, and also their soft skills. As many of us know, a lot of us may have children, kids they don't read anymore, they just kind of skim. So some of those soft skills, those writing skills, those communication skills, even adults, they really need to be fostered and nurtured. And we as trainers and as motivators, as leaders, that's our job. It's also a job to evaluate how well we're doing in that aspect and how well we're reaching our adult learners. So that's what we'll talk about as well. We're going to definitely look at the major theories of adult learning, so that you can carry some of those foundations of those learning theories in your own training developments or needs assessments for your own jobs. I encourage you, as I mentioned in my announcement earlier this week, I encourage you to bring in examples from work. If you're having, a situation where you want to get some feedback or some advice, that's what we're here for. We're a community of scholars and learners, and we're all here to share our best practices and our experiences. We're also going to be looking at the core characteristics possessed by effective instructors. Some of you may or may not have a lot of experience teaching. Some of us have been in the learning or the student or the receiver role for many years, and maybe transgressing into that instructor role. So how do we want to deliver information to our students? Do we just want to tell them what to do? Do we want them to participate? Do we want them to question? So we're going to look at the different methods of doing that, as well as how to make them motivated to learn. I in a couple of the responses to your introductory forum, your postings, I mentioned, with the adult students coming back to college, most of them are here because, or here at Barry, at the PACE school, in professional educational school, they are here because they need to advance in their jobs. They're not necessarily here by choice. I would say most of you, if not all of you, again, not all of you have posted your introductions yet, but I take it that most of you are here because you want to be here, because you made a decision to come back, because you decided to be leaders in higher education. That's not the case for all of our adult learners. And I guess some of you that are in management and training positions that have contact with some of the employees that you work with, not all of them are thrilled to be sitting there being trained. So how do we make training more engaging and more effective, more inclusive as well? It's a huge thing for me. I'm really into inclusivity, not in the sense of just, you know, varying exceptionalities or adult learners that have, you know, special needs or need to acquire knowledge in specific ways, but also inclusive of culture, inclusive of age, inclusive of gender, inclusive of, you know, whatever it is that we need to be you know, understood for in our learning process. So that's very important to me. And of course, how to incorporate motivational strategies. We have a couple of students in the class already, great motivators based on what you shared with me, and I'm really excited to hear what your experience and what your background is, and how you can add to the wealth of knowledge in our class as well. And then we're going to also focus on the importance of motivation in adult learning theory and human resources. So these are some of the primary components to our course this semester. We're going to look at this in a little bit detail later on. And we'll talk about, you know, the incorporation of outside sources, since most of you are going to have to be looking up, you know, articles and information that you're going to be incorporating in your writing, you know, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and, you know, those types of things. So the first assignment that you've done is your introductory forum. You know, tell us a little bit about yourself. So you've gotten used to the way, if this is your first Canvas course or your first online course, how the you know, the discussion forums work, how to post, how to respond to. So we're gonna have quite a few of those. We're gonna have 7 of those. When I say group discussions, I just wanted to clarify, and I'm taking this right off the syllabus. So instead of pulling up the document, I just have kind of you know, extrapolated the bones, the basic skeleton of the syllabus, as to not, you know, flood the slides with tons of words and information. So when I say group discussion, it's a class group. I've just decided not to have group work or group assignments in this particular course for a number of reasons. The term group discussions means groups as a class. So for the group discussions, you will be required to provide at least 3 sources to your initial post. You are required to, of course, respond to other students in the class. I believe a minimum of 2 posts. You do not have to add additional outside sources to those posts. You may use the initial post and refer to your references. That's absolutely fine. If you guys want to use additional new stuff for your responses, that's absolutely fine as well. For the group discussions, you don't need to go super out of your way, go to the library, find this whole scholarly source thing. I'm okay with just reputable magazines, reputable websites, non-for-profit organizations. You know, later on in the semester, if I need to do a little kind of review session on what is, you know, what's acceptable, what's reputable, how to evaluate online, you know, sources, I'll be more than happy to do that. Like I said, I've been teaching writing for over 15 years, so I that's all I did. You know, work with students on how to select appropriate sources. So again, I'll be more than happy to work with you on that. For the introduction video, I know I'm jumping a little bit back to the introduction video. It's kind of an assignment where I really want you to just be yourself. If you've read through the assignments in the course, you see that it's a formal / informal assignment. The purpose of the assignment is to kind of get to know you a little bit better than just via text on the introduction forum. It's a way for you to be able to engage in what really you want to get out of this course, what your goals are. It's only going to be seen by me, so you can be yourself. If you want to, I did mention if you want to bring in your other, family members or your furry family members in the introduction video. The point is that I want to really see who you are and what you want to get out of this, and the location, the whole point of the assignment, without getting into too many details, is for you to record your video somewhere where you feel that it says, you know, something about yourself. So in my example in the assignment was, if I were me, and I know one of our students went to Paris, so yes, I would love to be on top of Notre Dame with a gargoyle next to me, looking at the beautiful historic city. That would be my video choice, but that's not available. So, you know, I would have to probably, I don't know, be something a little bit more boring, like, I don't know, in front of the library or something strange like that. But okay, moving on. So our weekly activities, there's a variety of them. Every weekly activity is just your ability to be able to put into practice some of the concepts that we have learned about in class. Most of them are just fun. I try to put, like, you know, learning style inventories and personality style. And while, you know, then this is what this course is about. Some people have done this before. I have done it a million times, but I have to tell you, every time I do it, and I don't know if it's just me or what it is, but I always learn something new, and it always doesn't come out the same way. So that's going to be an interesting conversation we'll have when you do your Myers-Briggs, or you do your Kolb, you know, personality, your learning inventory, personality inventory. So that should be interesting. So those are the weekly activities. They're light, they're fun. They shouldn't be a lot of work on your end. It should be something that you should be able to do quickly. And, you know, those types of activities, you know, they're just your points. Make sure you're on task, so it's not going to be something that should be burdensome on you. The journal reflections are part of the weekly activity. So there's a weekly activity with a specific task, and then part of the, you know, their type of weekly activity is going to be, you know, reflecting on the week's, you know, topics and you know, concepts and people that we covered. And pretty much it's a way that you can just kind of, an informal, this is not going to be graded for grammar. It's just going to be for you to be able to, you know, reflect on what we've learned, and just ask me what you need or would you like to learn, you know, more about. It's a place where you can just be yourself, and again, share your thoughts with me. I am requiring one source because I did revise it on the syllabus. That's why I mentioned that it's a revised in the assignment. It's in the syllabus it didn't, so I didn't want to let you know that I did add it in the syllabus. The only reason I want to add just one source, and it could be a magazine, it could be a documentary, it could really be anything that you feel is relevant, is because we're going to do that mini annotated bib, which is the next activity towards, you know, the middle last part of the semester, and you're going to be able to pick and choose, you know, 4 to 5 journal entries, sources that you include in your journal entry to compile that. So you shouldn't be a lot of extra work or duplicating work. It should be stuff that you've turned in through the semester, you can refer to, easily pick out and throw together, and just make the assignment concise and, you know, professional and deliverable without a lot of additional outside work. 2 journal reviews. We'll talk about in more detail the format of the journal reviews in our you know, upcoming on live sessions. There's one that's part of the final paper deliverable. We're going to get into the final paper / project. I want to say final paper / project, depending on, again, those ideas and activity that you guys come up with. You know, maybe you want to interview somebody, maybe you want to do something in addition to just a paper, pencil, kind of, you know, quote unquote paper, pencil, paper typing, paper, computer, black and white type of thing, you know, and you want to do something more digital, more colorful, you know, that's fine. So that's going to be, you know, going to do one of those article reviews for final paper, and then you're going to do just an independent one. The article review for the final paper, you will be able to use in the actual final paper. So additional work. The way the final paper is structured, and we're going to get that on a couple of bullets, is you're going to have different components of the final paper due throughout the final project / paper project. You're going to have several components due throughout the term, so you're not waiting until the very last minute. You know, what you submit the last module of our course should be something that is just, you know, polishing up, making sure there's transitions between the sections, making sure everything kind of blends in. It shouldn't be something that you're having to produce a major assignment, you know, at the end. And, you know, I like that method because while we're all professionals and we're all adults and we like to, you know, my kids, you know, don't procrastinate to the last minute, you know, as adults with all this other stuff on our minds, unfortunately, sometimes we have to kind of put aside, you know, work because we have other things that are, more immediate in front of us that we need to deal with. So this way you submit stuff throughout the semester, you have my feedback, you have a lot of information so that at the end, all you have to do is sit down for maybe an hour or two and just put everything together, read it, and voila, it's done. Final paper presentation. Again, this is flexible. You can do a video of the presentation. You could do a screencast. There's an option on the left side menu called Screen Automatic. It's basically a screen shot app. I use it all the time to do mini lectures. That's my thing. Sometimes if I get a lot of questions from you guys that I need to kind of address, I might throw together a 2-3 minute video on what to do, how to do it, and it's going to be used during I'm going to be using Screencast-O-Matic or Screencastify. They're very similar. There's two different ones. I don't have Canvas pulled up right now, and I work at two different institutions, so they're very similar. So either way, but that's free to you. That's available to you, as well as WebEx. You all should have the ability to use WebEx to meet. Like I said, in this class, there's no group work or group deliverables to provide, but if you want to get together and do study or review things, that's also available to you. Paper presentation, like I was saying, it could be a PowerPoint, it could be a video, it could be an interview, it could be something like you create a infographic. So again, creativity, technology, I love that stuff. So please feel free to be creative and go the extra mile. So the final paper, you have 3 different formats that you can submit it in. And in the syllabus, it gets into a lot of detail about what the scholarly paper looks like, which I think most of you know. Your position paper, where you stand on a specific theory. Let's say you want to discuss I don't know, constructivism, and you want to critique constructivism, and you want to give your own opinion on pros and cons and why you feel it's effective in certain method. That's what a position paper is. So basically, you have a thesis statement, you're defending your side of the story, you're providing evidence, that sort of thing. So I think the first 2 are pretty familiar with all of us. Instead of in case even though you haven't been in school for a while, they were available and very much alive and kicking back then too. So those 2 should be fairly familiar to you guys. I do have an APA module in Canvas, so you have a sample paper. I believe it's a position paper in there. So and again, I have tons of samples if you need any additional information. The third type is our teaching method. So it's one of the you select one of the teaching methods in the course, or one that you are familiar with, or outside the course. So I always encourage you to, yes, information, or we're giving you information from Barry inside this course, but please go out of the course. Please bring in new stuff. Please bring in information that you find important or helpful. So on a teaching methodology that you find effective, maybe you practice in your own positions at work, or in the past, if you're a school teacher, or you've taught in an educational setting before, and why you feel that method is effective or not. So that's those are the 3 different types of paper you can write. Again, if you want to do something a little more creative, a little bit more postmodern, again, so please just communicate with me. The first deliverable will be a project overview, basically kind of like a proposal-ish type of thing. Again, there's more information and specifics in the course that we will review as the time gets a little bit closer. Probably next week we'll spend a few minutes on this. And then your article review, which we talked about. The format is very explicit in the syllabus, and of course I can always provide you, or I will always provide you, with additional info on how something like an article review should look like at the end, like a finished product sample. An introduction and an outline of the paper intending to present, or the project, and then again you're going to get of course points for the actual finished project. Okay, so some of the additional important components obviously are WebEx live sessions, and I promise you, I'm not going to say that, but as far as I can control, I don't anticipate major technical issues like we're going to have lively discussions. We're going to talk about the PowerPoint presentations in each of those are publisher materials. I did not devise those. They're very long. They're very good. They're very long though, and they're great supplements to our textbook. So if you're in a hurry or you just want to skim through, you read the book, a few days ago and you just want to refresh your memory, they are very good for that. What my plan is to actually take maybe 10 to 15, maybe 20 slides max from those big presentations and just focus on the most important concepts. And those reflection questions that they have are very good. I've looked through all of them over the past few weeks. They're good, and I think we can get really good discussions from them. So that's really what the live are going to be. As I mentioned in my announcement, typically maybe we might run over because of the issues that we had with the technology. But most of the time we're going to be done within the hour-ish. And then I'll always have time afterwards to meet with you one-on-one, either by phone or via whatever you feel is better for you. Late night assignment policy, late night, something like policy, lowered by 1 letter grade per day. Again, after 3 days, it's not really worth a passing grade anyway, so why even accept it? And then, of course, it's no exceptions unless you've contacted me and we've made arrangements prior to. So that's important. As a graduate student, I've never had any issues with students not either communicating with me, turning something in. So I'm not really anticipating much information or many issues with that. If you haven't sent me your orientation certificate, please do so. It's just a requirement that Barry wants me to just kind of check off on my end. So there's no hurry. Just make sure you have that in maybe by next week. You should be pretty much done with the orientation. If you haven't done so, go ahead and try to do it over the weekend if it's something that you haven't done yet. All right, so just basic course expectation. Try to log in a few times a week. I said 4 times a week. That's what the School of Education recommends, not requires, but recommends. Just like I always I like to communicate with you guys. I'll send announcements. Sometimes they're super important announcements. Sometimes they're like, hey, I found this great source. Here you go, or I updated this module. So sometimes they're course updates. Sometimes they're just me checking in on you guys. But just check in a few times a week. To make sure that there's no changes in assignments, due dates, etc. Of course, submit assignments on time. Academic integrity. I think most of you have been lectured on or know about academic integrity and plagiarism. Turnitin is used in our course for several assignments. I typically do have you allow the students to see the results of the report as soon as you submit it or as soon as available. I'm not 100% vested on these technologies. I use them because, Barry kind of wants us to make use of these tools when we're dealing with online learners. But after many years of working with something like Turnitin, I realized that some of the stuff that's tagged is quoted material, stuff that may be cited inappropriately. So I don't just make a judgment based on the color that I see on the screen. So if there's really an issue, I will always approach you first. You will never get an F from me without or a letter or something crazy. You're adults. A lot of you are coming back into an academic setting, having to write papers, and it's something that you just need to practice. So I'm here. I'm here to facilitate and help you, not punish you or make your life impossible for citation, format and things like that. I did create an open forum in our class. There's instructions on there. Basically, it's an open forum for you guys to post information, concerns about assignments. Sometimes, there's stuff that's unclear, or you need a clarification or you don't understand something. Just because I'm the instructor, it doesn't mean I know every single answer to every single question or I'm available at all times. I give a lot of responsibility and trust in my students, and you are all professionals. And again, I'm here, I'm a professor, but I'm also your facilitator, and I welcome any knowledge you have that you can share with the class. I won't get mad, and I will always check in the forum to make sure that the information that's being exchanged is accurate, and I'll jump in and correct anything, or if no one else has responded, I'll be an active participant in that. I do recommend that you subscribe to these open forums to see when things are posted. so that you know what's, if there's a question posted or there's information. Again, it's kind of a loungy area. The only thing that you can't really talk about in there for, not FAFSA, for FERPA reasons is grades, and I don't think you want to share any grade information or personal information about yourself anyway, but just be aware of that, okay? If you can't turn in something on time or you have a problem, it's not the place to post that. That's always something you want to address with me directly. I promise I will give you grades back within 7 days, probably sooner. I'm very active on email. Very rarely would you have to, a day or a day or longer for me to respond, So please, feel free to email me. I will get back to you probably before 24 hours, but the policy is 24 hours. And always provide feedback. And if there's any assignments that you did that are not meeting requirements or everything, I will always give you a chance to revise and resubmit. As I mentioned, academic turn it in, academic honesty policy turn it in on our APA style, which we'll definitely review a little bit as the semester progresses towards the final paper. Okay, so these are the final paper deliverables. This is taken from the syllabus in module 2. So next week you'll be submitting your project overview. So within this week and next week, maybe over the weekend, kind of skim through the modules. See what kind of information is posted, what the topics are, what the videos are. I did spend a lot of time putting optional resources in the modules for you guys outside the textbook, more recent stuff. So, I will update that as I see something cool. I will put it up there for you and I'll let you know, hey, I updated this module. You might want to check this out. Maybe put a link in there for you in the announcement. So the project overview will ask you to talk about what you anticipate on writing about, and again, what you hope to accomplish and how you feel this impacts your life. Adult learning theory, you guys have to feel relevant and connected to what you do. So that's definitely something that you're going to be engaging in for the project overview. And you will be required to list at least 5 resources that you're planning on using for the final paper. So those are not set in stones. You might find different resources, in the next, 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks when the semester progresses. So it's just a kind of a baseline that we want to establish. Okay. For your article review, you will select this article does need to be a peer-reviewed article from a journal. It cannot be Wikipedia. It cannot be a web-based, non-authored journal. It must be something that's peer-reviewed. I'm not saying you need to go into the Berry Library, although I encourage you to use the Berry Library. Anything you get from there is, I'm going to say 95, I'm going to say anything. I don't like to use all of those, overwhelming, general statements, but most of the perfectly fine for you to use. Google Scholar might be something also that you might want to tap into. Remember, if you use Google Scholar, the articles that come up in Google Scholar, sometimes you have to pay for those articles. You don't have to pay for them at Berry. You can copy and paste the citation information, go into our database. We have links to our librarians. I'd be more than happy. I love doing research, and I'll be more than happy to help you find that article and cite it appropriately and all that good stuff. So please keep that in mind. Module 5, you're going to write your introduction and the outline paper. So this is going to be really when you're going to be engaged in actually structuring the paper. And then finally, in the last module 7, you're going to submit your project. You will present your project before you submit it. I think that's helpful to students sometimes when they talk about their project and they get feedback and questions from the class. They can go back and tweak. So it's not unusual. To me, it's not weird that the presentation is before the actual finished project is submitted. I think it's better for you guys that way. So our live sessions, reflection questions, like I mentioned, I'm not going to cover all of the slides. I apologize for the little I and the uppercase I. Please bring in relevant examples from work, school, life, interesting. Please comments. If there's anything that you want me to change or modify or think I should add, please feel free. I'm not going to be hurt or insulted. I welcome your comments. Again, I'm recording these sessions, so they'll always be posted in that WebEx module in Canvas for you for easy reference. And again, if you need any clarification, I know tonight we're kind of running through things quickly because I want to give you back your time. I'll be more than happy to either hold a follow-up, record an additional little session for you guys, or meet with you one-on-one, whatever you need. okay? As an as needed basis. Okay, so before I close the presentation and open it up to Q&A, next week we're meeting the 30th at 9. I will send an email through Barry email to you guys with a link, and that's the way you're going to access the meeting. If you miss a session, it'll be recorded for you for reference, later on, and you can watch it at your convenience. We're going to cover definitely all the information module 1, so the foundation of adult learning theory, what adult learning theory is, what's the difference between adult learning theory and pedagogy, and some of those basic concepts. Some of you may be familiar with that, so it should go relatively quickly. And then I'm going to get into some of the stuff in module 2, which is a little bit more dense. So some of the key figures in andragogy and learning styles, fair or faux. There's a lot of controversy, especially nowadays with technology. What's a learning style? Is it true? So we'll have a nice little debate over that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and end the show and open it up for questions. And I have the chat up, so if any of you have questions, feel free to actually speak. You don't have to type. You guys 100% okay with everything said in 40 minutes, very quickly? Okay. All right, so as they say in Congress, I yield back time to you, not much, but some. I will be available for questions outside the room if you need. Like I said, I know tonight was kind of rushed, so if you guys want to just watch this again, make notes, ask questions, send me an email. I'll be more than happy to address each and every one of your concerns.